Hey everybody, so today we are going to learn something new using the calculator, which is pretty exciting. It's called linear regression, and I think you guys are really going to like it. It's going to be a lifesaver. So we're going to practice that today and learn it. Couple of reminders. Grading period ends on Friday, so report cards, the deadline for all your grades, for all your classes for report cards is this Friday. You need to have your work submitted to me by 3:30 on Friday. I'm not going to take anything after 3:30. And then on Friday, we also, so since we're about to go into our fall break, and you guys have like, it's like 9 or 10 days off in a row, it kind of splits up our Unit 3. And instead of y'all having to remember all that material when we come back from the break, we're just going to go ahead and take like half of our Unit 3 test on Friday before we go. So it'd be kind of like a quiz. And then when we come back, we'll take the other half, and then I'll average those two grades together. But they won't go on this 9 weeks grading period, okay? That's going to go on next 9 weeks. But you will have a test in Canvas on Friday, or if you're an on-campus learner, you'll have it in class. But, yeah, so be looking for that. It must be completed by Friday. Remember, guys, you have to do the unit test the day that I post them, or you get a 0, and you cannot pass my class if you're getting 0s for test grades. Okay, so let's head on over to the modules page today. See what we got. We are going to be doing some notes, so you might want to pause the video right now and go find your journal that we started back up here, second quarter journal setup. So if you haven't clicked this and got that journal set up and filled in those notes, you need to do that. So I was really lenient on you guys for the first 9 weeks journal grade. I gave you an example journal. I gave you time to copy the slides if you needed them out of my journal. I gave you all the work. I'm not going to do that for the third 9 weeks. I mean, the second 9 weeks. This 9 weeks right here. You have to keep up with them. You need to be watching the videos, filling in your journal as we go in the videos, because I'm not going to give you my journal to look at this time. So it's going to be all up to you to make sure you're doing it. It's not hard. All you have to do is copy what I'm doing when I'm doing it. So if you have not set up your journal, and notice this one's blue. I changed it. We are going to be adding another journal slide in today. So let's do that first. Let's take our notes. Let's learn how to do this thing called linear regression. You are also going to need to have the calculator on your Chromebook pulled up. Now this is mine. Let me clear it out. Mine looks a little bit different, but your buttons are going to be in exactly the same areas. Okay. So let's go here. Let's copy this journal slide. And there's only one to put in, so that's nice. We don't have a ton of them to copy. So you can come over here to the side. You can click with 2 fingers and click copy, or you can do Control-C, your choice. And then come over here and paste it into the bottom. You can click on the last slide in your journal and click paste. And it should paste it down at the bottom. Remember, hit do not link. Okay, so I'm going to close that out because I don't need that file anymore. And I'm going to fill in the table of contents for us. So what is our next table of contents entry? And if you didn't notice on the other journal quiz, the table of contents was worth half the points on the quiz. So your table of contents is super important. And I do that to make it easy on you guys. And then you guys will just like not fill it in. It's just, I don't understand sometimes. Okay, so this is called linear regression. Whoops, I misspelled it. Let me spell it correctly. Linear regression. So let's link this and then I'll talk a little bit about what does that word regression mean. So insert link. Slides in this presentation. It should be the last slide. Slide 5. Apply. Okay, so regression is a word that means writing equations. So it's like if you're given a scenario, regression is actually this huge complicated formula that calculators and computers use to take data points and to write an equation that models the data. So that's basically what we're doing here. Okay, so I'm going to stay zoomed in so you can see. Here's your notes. So regression is just taking the calculator and letting the calculator write the equation of the line for us. You know, y equals mx plus b. The calculator gives us that. So on this side over here, you have the exact steps that you need to do in order to do regression in the calculator. Okay, these are exactly the steps you would follow. So use that as reference anytime I'm telling you to do regression, linear regression in the calculator. So you're going to refer back to these notes a lot on this page right here. These are going to be really important. So it's good we link them in the table of contents because you have a shortcut to get to them. Now, so remember, like we started last Thursday and yesterday, we've been working on finding slope, right? We were using that slope formula and we were doing it by hand. Here's the good news. You're not going to have to do that anymore. It's important that we reviewed that and that you refreshed how to do that because you need to know what we're doing when we're finding slope. What does it even mean? But when we do regression, the calculator is going to give you three things. And they're listed over here. It's going to give you the equation, y equals the mx plus b equation, number one. That's awesome. Number two, because it's giving you the full equation, it's giving you the m and the b. It's giving you the slope, and it also gives you the y-intercept. So if somebody says, take this table and find the equation, we can do that with a calculator. Or if they say, take this table, tell me what the y-intercept is. The calculator is also going to tell us that part. Or what if they said, take this table of values and tell me what the slope is? You no longer have to go and say, okay, let me subtract my y values, which are down here on the bottom. So I don't have to say -8 minus -2 on top and then -5 minus 5 on the bottom. I don't have to do that anymore because the calculator is going to do that for you. So here's what you do. I'm going to pull my calculator up on the side over here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect. So here's the calculator. Let me see if I can make this guy a little bit bigger. I don't need all this space over here. Okay, perfect. So here's what you need to do. So if you're given a table of values, notice also if you're given 2 points, or if you're given a line even on a graph. Remember, we could rise and run, but the calculator will also help us do it with a graph. It's super cool. So I think this is going to be your preferred method for finding slope, y-intercept, equations. This is going to be it. We're going to get really good at it. We're going to practice it a lot. It's very important. Okay, so here's what you want to do. So I'm going to do the steps over here, and you can follow along on your slide. Your steps are going to be right here over on the side. So we're just going to do these steps together. And then we're going to type our answers on here. So remember, your calculator, you can also hit this big square button on your Chromebook. And you have to be using the TI calculator. Notice that. But if you hit that square button, it'll minimize it so you can bring it up alongside your slide too. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you hit the stat button, okay? And it automatically pops up on edit. And that's what we want, number one, edit. So you can just hit stat, enter for edit, stat edit. Okay, then notice how it gives us all these lists. So that's cool. We're going to use the first and the second list. So what you want to do is you want to take all your x values and you want to put them in list 1, and they need to go in order. So over here, you just start typing -10, and then you hit enter. Now notice it automatically pops you down to the next line. So then you can hit enter the next x value. We're doing our x values in list 1. Enter. Then I had 5. Enter. Then I have 10, enter. Then I have 15, enter. So there's all my x values. Now I'm going to arrow over and I'm going to put all my y values in order, starting with the first one, in the next list. So I do -11, enter. -8, enter. -2, enter. 1, enter. 4, enter. So now I have my x's in list 1, and I have my y values in list 2. So when you're done entering in there, you go back and you hit the stat button again, okay? But we don't hit edit. We don't hit edit this time or enter. We're going to arrow over this time and go to calculate. Now, there's lots of options on here. We're going to use several of these, but the first one we're going to use is this one, number 4. Look, linreg. Oh, what did I tell you this was called? Linear regression. And notice it's telling you the form of the equation it's going to give it to you in. AX plus B. Oh, instead of M, they're using A. Instead of MX plus B, they're calling it AX plus B. The same thing. So you can either arrow down to 4 and then hit enter, or you can just hit option 4. Either way. Now, you need to make sure that this is here, where it says X list, L1, Y list, L2. That's asking you, did you put your X's in L1 and your Y's in L2? So then you just arrow down all the way until you're on, it's flashing on calculate. Now, when it's flashing on calculate, you hit enter. And there it is. There's your answers right there. Y equals AX plus B. That's the equation. Is telling you your A, you would put 0.6 where A is, and you would put -5 where B is. Now, the only thing I'm going to tell you is that it usually gives it to you in decimals, but let's say I don't want it in decimals. Maybe all of my answer choices have fractions, so it's a good thing to go and convert your decimals to fractions. So how do you do that? Well, so I'm going to come over here and type. So it said it was 0.6x, that's what they gave me, 0.6x, and then -5 for my B value. -5. Now remember, I told you probably want to put your, if you can, not always can you, but if you can, you want to take this decimal and you want to make it a fraction. So here's how you do that in your calculator. Let your calculator do the work for you. 0.6, or you can even just put 0.6. Then you go math, and then you hit enter, enter. What's the fraction? 3/5. So we can replace 0.6 with 3/5. And I'm just going to type it like that. 3/5. Now, the next thing is it asks us, so because of that, what is our slope and what is our y-intercept? What is B? Remember, M stands for slope. B stands for the y-intercept, whereas this line crossing the y-axis. So our slope is 3/5. It's the value in front of x. It's always going to be the A value. And you can see that down here. It tells you A is the slope. Your y-intercept is 0, the B value. So our y-intercept of B value, well, our B value is -5. If we wanted to write it as an ordered pair, we could say that it is 0, -5. Okay? So that's that problem done. Now, what if they just give me 2 points? Let's practice this again. So let's hit clear. So this time they didn't give me a whole bunch of table of values, which if they do, I just type all of them in. This time they gave me 2 points, but we can still do it with 2 points. So here's the steps again. Click stat. Then you have to click edit first, stat edit. Hit enter or hit number 1. Now I have all these values up here, and so if you go up to the list name and hit clear, and then go down, it'll clear out your list for you. So if I go up to list 1, hit clear, and then arrow down, it clears out my whole list. So here we go. Remember, you always put your X values in list 1. What are my X values here? We're going to do them in order. I have a -3 and then a 15. It's important that you do them in order. I have -3, enter, and then I have a 15 for an X value. Remember, it's X, Y. Now I arrow over. Now I'm going to put my Y values in list 2. So my Y values are 4 and -8. I'm going to do them in order. 4, -8, enter. Now here's why it's important that I did them in order. Because notice how 3, -4. I mean -3, 4. -3, 4. You should be able to look side to side and see your ordered pairs sitting beside each other, the partners in the ordered pair. That's why it's important that you do them in order. Because if you put the -8 up here and the 4 down here, your points would be out of order. So that's why it's important to type them in order. Make sure their partners are still sitting side by side. Okay, so now you've got them in your list. So then you go back and hit stat, and instead of hitting edit this time, go over to calculate. And then we have to choose option 4. Remember, you're wanting Lin Reg, option 4, so you can arrow down, or you could just hit 4, and it brings it up. It says at the top, make sure you choose the right one. That's correct. My X's I put in L1, my Y's I put in L2. I arrow down until it's flashing on calculate, and then I hit enter. Okay, so -0.666666667, that's repeating, right? That's what that's telling me. All those 6s are telling me that 6 is repeating. and B value is 2. So I'm going to come over here, and I know my B value is 2. I'm going to fill that in. And it said my slope was negative 0.66667. Now, I do not want to have to write all that. So this is when we come back to our calculator and we hit clear and we tell it, hey, what is negative 0.6666666? Now, here's what you want to do. You want to fill up that screen with those 6s because we know they're repeating. If you fill up your screen with the 6s and then hit the 7, I think if you put the 7, and then we go math, enter, enter, it tells you what that fraction really is. It's really negative 2/3. That's going to be so much easier to write than all of those decimals. So my thing is really negative 2/3, my slope. Because remember, and I'm going to go back over here real quick. I'm going to go to stat, calc, 4. I'm going to bring this back up for us. Remember that A is what they're using for M. They just don't use M. They say A instead because your M, your slope, is always in front of X, and B is your Y-intercept. So now I can write my equation in that form. Y is equal to, well, negative 2/3 X. I'm going to do plus 2. Whoops, I just canceled that. Let's reset. I just zoomed in the wrong button there. It didn't put my plus. Plus 2. There you go. And if you want to put some spaces here, make it look nicer, you can. Okay, so that's how you do it with points. Now, what about a graph that doesn't have points on it for me? If they labeled the points, awesome. What if they didn't label my points? How do I do this? Let me zoom in a little more here. Okay, so I'm going to find 2 really good points. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to drag these points over. Look, that looks like a super good point to me right there. This is a nice point. We could use this one. Oh, I could also use this one. I think I'm going to use this one because I can clearly see. Those are 2 like really good points, okay? So here I go. I have 2, whoops, really good points. So now I'm going to bring out my calculator. I hit clear here. Now remember, here's how we start. We go to stat, edit. So we got to hit enter for edit. And I'm going to clear out my list here. Clear. Go over to up to L2 and hit clear. Then I'm going to go up over to the L1 and hit clear and go down. Okay, now I'm going to enter my X values first. So this is tricky. You may need to like type out what are your X values, or you may want to write them somewhere. So I'm going to look at this point right here and I have to decide what is my X value for this point right here. So if I was going to type out the coordinates for this point, so let me just really quickly insert a text box here, okay? So let's do that. Let's type out the coordinates for this point. Well, I'm going to have, whoops, make this bigger. I'm going to have the coordinates. Come on, type in there. There we go. So for this point right here, what is the X value? Well, if I trace it back down, I'm at the origin, right? So it's 0, comma, what's my Y value? How high up did I go? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are the coordinates for that point right there. So now I am going to put this over here. Let's find the coordinates for this point. So this is what we need to do. We got to find the coordinates for each point. So what are the coordinates for this point over here? Well, for this point, I can see my X value as I go over 1, 2. And how high up or down do I go? I don't go any up or down. So my Y value must be 0. So there are your 2. I'm going to make these a different color so we can see them easier. I'm doing red. There we go. So there are the coordinates of those points. And when you go to do this, I'm going to have these text boxes here so you can click and type those numbers there. Because I'm seeing that's a good idea. Okay, so let's put our X values in. I have a 0 in L1. Remember, we put our X's in L1. And then I have a 2. We put our other X value underneath it. Okay, so now I go over. Make sure you don't type over the list name. If you do, you need to reset your calculator and it'll put the name back, okay? Okay, so here we go. So now I'm going to put my Y's. I'm going to do 4 first. Enter. In L2. and that's a 0. It comes next. So what I'm looking for is I see I have 0, 4, right? 0, 4, yeah. 2, 0, 2, 0. So when I look up here, I want to be able to see the partners side by side. Okay, so now I go back to stat, go over to calculate, I go down, or I hit option 4, and then I have to arrow down to calculate, and I hit enter. And there it is right there. My A value is -2, my B value is 4. So I come down here and I say, well, my A value was -2, my B value was 4. I think, let me refresh it. Yeah, -2 and 4. So now I'm going to write the equation of my line. That's what I need. I need M and B to write the equation. So y equals -2x plus 4. There's the equation of my line. Okay. So notice, I can use this if I just need slope. The calculator give it to me. I can use this if I need the whole equation. Calculator give it to me. I can use this if I just need the y-intercept. Notice, this one's a graph. So where is this line crossing the y-axis? Right here at 4, which is exactly what the calculator told me. Where is my x-intercept on this one? So remember, that's where the line crosses the x-axis. That's this way. So my x-intercept is actually 1. It's 2. That's the other point we used. So now if you ever are asked, hey, what's the x-intercept? And they just give you something like this. Well, once you've got the equation, you could go type it in Desmos and look at the picture and find your x-intercept. So we're going to start using technology a lot, okay? And I think it's going to be really, really useful for you guys. Okay, so now what do I need you to do? I need you to practice this. I need you to get really good at this. It's going to come in so handy. You're going to hear me say stat edit, stat edit. It's just going to be a thing that we're going to do. Oh, hang on just a second, and let me go unlock this, and then I'll show you guys the assignment. Okay, so I'm back. So I unlocked it. So after we do our notes, I need you all to come down here and do linear regression practice. So you're going to click and it's going to load it in a new tab. And these problems are all very, very similar to what we just did in our notes. So leave your notes open. Go refer to your notes. You're going to actually just write, or you can type your answers here. I know a lot of y'all like the type text box feature here. So if you want to type your answers, I'm cool with that. And notice, like if you're going to do a slope that's a fraction, if you click to type, and then you hit this F button, like if you need to type the fraction 3/4, it's going to put it in fraction form for you, okay? I don't actually know if that's the slope of that one. So I want you to give me the slope. That's your M, remember, your y-intercept, and then I want you to give me the equation for all of these. Super important, okay? And I think some of these actually it asks you to find the rate of change instead of slope. And so remember, rate of change is just the same thing as slope, which is another word for slope. Rate of change is slope. Rise over run, rate of change, slope, all the same thing. So if you see it say rate of change, that's what they're asking you to find. Okay, so practice these. You've got some tables, you have some points, you have some graphs here. So draw your little points in, write your ordered pairs, and then see if you can do the last page. If you're stuck with it, with these right here, remember, these are your x values inside your parentheses. This is your output. So they're really giving you ordered pairs, x and y on these. I think this may look a little different actually than what you guys see. I think I may have changed this a little bit. Some of those problems on the last page may look a little differently, but if they do and you are struggling with them, just send me an email so we can go over them.